Right now, somewhere, a machine is filling out a form. Nobody's watching it happen. No cursor blinking, no hand on a mouse. A person asked it, hours ago, to find a flight to Chicago. That was the last thing a human did. Everything since then, the comparing, the clicking, the fine print nobody reads, has been the machine, alone, still going, long after the person who asked went to bed. It hasn't paused once. It won't get bored. It won't get distracted. It won't glance at its phone and lose the thread. We built the internet for the kind of user who does all of those things. We're about to find out what it does to a system built for humans when the user stops being human. Here's the assumption, and it's older than you think. Someone opens a browser, reads, gets distracted, closes the tab. Comes back tomorrow, maybe. Every server on Earth was quietly built around that rhythm. Rising in the morning, falling at night, spiking for a big game, dropping in a snowstorm, going nearly quiet at 3 a.m. Engineers gave it a name: human load. For 30 years, it was the only kind of load anyone planned for. The system wasn't just built to handle people. It was built to expect them to stop. And for the first time since the internet existed, something is using it that never does. Here's where it gets interesting. Think about how a person actually uses the internet. You search, you read, you think for a second. Maybe you get distracted by something else entirely. Eventually you decide, or you leave without deciding at all. That pause, the thinking, the distraction, the walking away, was never a flaw in the system. It was the system. Every server on Earth was sized around the fact that you'd eventually stop. Now picture an AI agent doing the same task. It searches. It reads. Not skims, reads all of it. It doesn't get overwhelmed by 40 tabs the way you would. It compares. It calls other tools directly, the way you'd call a friend, except at machine speed. It reaches a decision, and if that decision doesn't hold up, it doesn't sigh and give up. It searches again. And when it's done, it doesn't stop. It acts, books, buys, cancels, schedules, then moves straight into the next task, with no coffee break, no distraction, no bedtime. That's not a faster human. That's a different kind of user entirely, one built without the very limits the internet was designed around. By mid-2026, that shift was already measurable. Cloudflare's own measurement of HTML traffic across its network, one of the largest on the internet, though not the whole of it, found automated requests had overtaken human browsing for the first time on record. 57.5% machine, 42.5% human. That's not a claim about the entire internet. It's one major network, measuring one kind of traffic. But it's a serious one, and it arrived faster than Cloudflare itself expected. Its own CEO had predicted this crossover wouldn't come until 2027. Separately, researchers at Human Security tracked over 1 quadrillion web interactions in 2025 and found automated traffic growing 8 times faster than human traffic, with AI agent activity specifically growing nearly 80-fold. Different studies, different methods, different exact numbers. But they all point the same direction. Machine-generated traffic isn't a rounding error anymore. It's becoming a defining share of the web. The internet didn't get a new visitor. It got a new species. A person comparing hotel prices might check 2, maybe 3 sites, then decide. An AI agent doing the same task can check hundreds of listings in the time it takes you to read this sentence. It doesn't get overwhelmed by choice. It doesn't skim. It reads everything. And here's the part almost nobody accounts for. That agent isn't one request. It's a chain of them. Search, retrieve, compare. Call an API. Get a result. Decide that result isn't good enough. Search again. Call a different service. Verify, confirm, execute. One human intention. Find me a flight. Can quietly become dozens, sometimes hundreds, of machine actions underneath it. A single request might touch a dozen airline sites, 3 booking platforms, a currency converter, and a calendar, before it ever surfaces a single answer back to you. Multiply that by every person who now has an AI assistant doing errands in the background, and you start to see the shape of something the internet was never designed to absorb. Not more users, but more behavior per user, compressed into a fraction of the time a human would take. The web wasn't just given a new visitor. It was handed a visitor who moves at a completely different speed than anyone who built the place ever planned for. Here's what almost nobody pictures. Behind every action that agent takes, another machine has to think. And thinking now runs on infrastructure you could put your hand on, not something floating out past the horizon. A simple AI reply costs a sliver of a watt-hour. But once an AI stops replying and starts acting, reasoning through steps, chaining decisions together, that cost jumps by orders of magnitude. Multiply that by an agent sending not one request but dozens, and it starts to explain why the IEA project's global data center electricity use will nearly double by 2030. Picture one server rack, about the size of a refrigerator. By 2027, it's expected to draw as much power as 65 households. And thousands of them are being built right now, by companies signing nuclear power contracts just to guarantee the electricity will exist. The cloud isn't weightless. It's steel, concrete, and a power line someone is racing to upgrade. But electricity isn't the strange part of this story. This is the part of the story that changes everything else. Ask your AI assistant to plan a birthday dinner. One sentence, simple. Here's what happens next, and you'll never see any of it happen. Your assistant reaches out to a restaurant booking services AI. That AI checks a table database. It confirms with a payment system. It messages a calendar tool to hold the slot. It might even negotiate with a delivery service's AI to get a cake there on time. 4, 5, 6 machines, having an entire conversation with each other, and not one human ever reads a single word of it. One sentence in, an entire chain of machine decisions out. Say it as a chain. And it sounds almost absurd. Assistant to booking service, to database, to payment system, to calendar, to delivery service, and possibly back again if anything doesn't line up. 6 handoffs. 0 humans. One sentence started all of it, and no one but the machines will ever see the middle of that conversation. That's not a faster version of you searching for a restaurant. That's a different kind of interaction happening underneath the one you asked for. And it isn't limited to dinner reservations. The same pattern applies whether the task is comparing insurance quotes, rebooking a canceled flight, or negotiating a delivery window. One human sentence. An invisible negotiation between machines to make it real. And machines having that conversation need a shared language. The same way 2 people from different countries need one before they can talk at all. In late 2024, a standard called the Model Context Protocol gave AI systems a way to plug directly into outside tools and data, instead of pretending to be a human clicking through a website. By 2026, it was being used well over 100 million times a month. A second standard, Agent to Agent, built by Google and now run by the Linux Foundation, lets one AI hand a task straight to another, with more than 150 companies signed on, including Amazon, Microsoft, and Salesforce. This isn't a future scenario. It's running right now, underneath ordinary requests, while you watch this. It doesn't announce itself with a notification or a headline. It just runs in the milliseconds between when you asked and when the answer appeared, like it always did. For 30 years, the internet had one basic shape. A person, a browser, a page built for human eyes. Person in, information out. It's growing a second shape underneath the first one. Person in, and then machines out. Talking to other machines, negotiating on your behalf, at a speed and in a language no human was ever meant to follow. You didn't build that second internet. You asked a simple question, and it built itself underneath your sentence. There's a quieter cost to this shift, one that has nothing to do with electricity or protocols. AI systems now read the open web constantly, training, checking, retrieving, but rarely send a person back to see what they found. One major AI crawler was measured reading roughly 24,000 pages for every referral it returned, compared to about 5 for a traditional search engine. The old deal of the internet assumed a human eye on the other end of every visit. Increasingly, it isn't one. The reader is still there. It's just not who the page was written for anymore. Now imagine multiplying all of this by an ordinary life. A person wakes up. They don't check flight prices. Their agent already did, overnight while they slept. They don't compare insurance quotes. Their agent ran that errand between one task and the next, silently, the way a dishwasher runs while you're in another room. They don't sit refreshing a page waiting for concert tickets to go on sale. Something is already watching for them, ready to act in milliseconds, faster than a human hand could ever click. They open their phone at breakfast to find 3 decisions already made, and only glance at them the way you'd glance at a receipt. None of this is a distant future. Every piece of it exists today, in early form, running for real people, right now. What's uncertain isn't whether it happens. It's how far it goes and how fast. And when you multiply that single life by hundreds of millions of people, each running a handful of quiet, tireless agents in the background of their day, you start to see the real shape of the question this documentary opened with. The internet isn't just getting more traffic. It's getting a second population, one that never sleeps, never gets bored, and never stops asking. So here's the bigger question. Not, is AI powerful? Not, is the internet going to break? It's this. If machines are increasingly the ones searching, reading, comparing, and acting, while humans simply set the goal and walk away, then who exactly is the internet being built for anymore? For 30 years, the pattern was simple. A person opens the internet, and information comes back. Every button, every layout, every loading spinner was built for a human eye and a human hand. Increasingly, the pattern looks different. A person sets a goal, and a chain of machines carries it out on their behalf, reaching into services, calling other machines, executing steps no human ever watches. That's no longer a side effect. Companies are starting to design specifically for machine readers, formats meant to be parsed by an AI, not looked at by a person, stripped of the images and layouts that used to matter most. Standards bodies are building entirely new protocols, so agents can talk to each other without ever touching a browser. The infrastructure isn't just adapting to handle more humans. It's growing a second nervous system, built for a user that was never part of the original plan. And that system is being built quietly, in the background, by people solving one narrow technical problem at a time, few of whom are asking the bigger question out loud. This isn't a hostile takeover. No one is being replaced by force. It's quieter than that, and maybe stranger. Every time you ask an AI to search, compare, plan, or book something, you're not just using a tool. You're teaching the internet, in real time, to make room for a kind of user it was never built for. We spent 30 years building a network for people who get tired, get distracted, and eventually log off. Then we built something that doesn't. And we didn't build it all at once, in some announced, deliberate act. We built it one ordinary sentence at a time. Every "find me a flight," every "book this," every "compare these for me." Small requests, each one teaching the system, in real time, what this new kind of user needs. And so, quietly, without a single grand unveiling, the internet has started becoming 2 internets at once. One still shaped like a library, built for us to wander through. The other shaped like a nervous system, built for machines that never stop moving through it on our behalf. The real question was never whether AI would change the internet. It's whether the internet we're building right now one small request at a time, will still be recognizable as the one we grew up with. Or whether we've already started building something else and simply haven't noticed yet.